Hey, Stephen Yanni here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. And, we've said it before, we'll say it again. 1955 was a huge year for Chevrolet. They sold a total of 1.7 million vehicles, up 250,000 over 1954. And why? Well, it had to do with the entirely restyled body, first time for an optional V8 since 1918, and things like 12-volt electricals, optional air conditioning for the first time ever on a Chevrolet, and just all modernized styling, including a grille that many people said was inspired by Ferrari. Now, again, we've said this before, but we'll say it again. It's not a modern wives' tale that grille was inspired by Ferrari. Rather, Harley Earl, who was in charge of GM styling in the 50s, was a big fan of European sports cars. And we'll show it again. This is Road and Track, December of 59, and they're looking back on a 10-year-old Ferrari Barchetta, or Barchetta if you are an Italian like I kind of sort of am from my father's side. But anyway, you can see the grille with that egg crate grille. There it is. That's the design right there that in 1949 was unique to the Barchetta, or Barchetta you call it. And with that said, we weren't the only ones. This is Motor Life magazine, December 54, previewing the new American cars. And in December of 54, the press was talking about enthusiasts will be happy with the grille, which could have originated in the Italian Ferrari factory. And there it is. And on the top right, we see again frontal treatment of 55 Chevrolet. It features inward slope Ferrari type grille. And we're not the only ones who noticed it. Again, the press did, and back in 54. And the big thing again about 55 was that mighty small block 265 V8 right there. And of the 1.7 million Chevrolets built, about half of them had this 265 cubic inch legend in the making right here. And overnight, Chevrolet went from being kind of a spinster mobile to a hot car with the kids. In fact, model companies like AMT even released kits of the Nomad. We see one right here. And what happens a lot of times, people actually take the grille out and put a moon tank in the front like that. Another classic 55 Chevy gasser treatment. But again, the Ferrari-inspired grille, yeah, absolutely something that was right out of the Italian Enzo Ferrari works. Now this one here is not a 265, obviously. This is the 235 cubic inch Stovebolt 6. And these are interesting engines, go back to 1929, basically, with improvements, of course, pressurized oiling. Here's the road draft tube right here. This thing right here is a baffle inside of this, but as the engine whips up and makes fumes, the oil draft, the fumes have to go somewhere, so they go out onto the road. Not a liquid, but actually sort of a vapor, and not great for the environment, but again, in 1955, who cared? Now, again, thing on this is the engine mounts right here. The motor sits down on these sort of elbow mounts, both sides, rubber up and down to help isolate the car from shake. And this one, of course, being a 6-cylinder car, the radiator wall is kind of munched on this thing. But when you see an 8-cylinder car, the radiator is on the inside of the radiator wall. On a 6-cylinder car, it's outside of the radiator wall because the engine's too long to fit it inside. 1-barrel carburetor, of course, no 4 barrels, no 2 barrels, no fuel injection on the 6-banger. It was purely an economy mill. Not a bad intake manifold, has individual runners. It's not cast into the head like some Fords. Exhaust manifolds, not too shabby, a fairly large outlet. This one does have the optional oil filter right here, which was not standard equipment, but that was an AC item, or FRAM, you call it. And also 1955, first year for this thing right here. This is a ball joint. Same thing you have in your shoulder right there. And basically, Chevy called this a spherical joint because in 55 and 54, Ford used the term ball joint in their advertising, huge. So Chevrolet says, well, we have spherical joints, same idea. And this replaced the age-old Kingpin, which was, it wasn't as good in terms of anti-dive geometry when you're hitting the brakes really hard. And again, drum brakes all the way around here. But the most important thing on this car is the two-door station wagon body style right here. Now, a lot of people think two-door wagon, 55 Chevy Nomad, right? Right here, there's 6,103 of these things made in 1955. This is an AMT model, single exhaust on this one, very stock. And again, this wraparound rear window and the ribbed roof were only seen on the Nomad, which was basically a Motorama show car come to life. Meanwhile, the Handyman 210 and 150 did not have that wraparound glass. It had a fixed pillar, no slanted B-pillar here, no ribs in the roof. But with that said, this is a very rare body style. A total of 47,852 two-door Handyman wagons were built out of 1.7 million full-size Chevys 1955. So a very rare body style. It's kind of sad to see it here in the junkyard. Again, no back door. It's a two-door. So let's pop the door and look inside. Now this one, of course, like all Chevys of the era, is a body on frame. We can see the frame rails here. No X-frame until 58, but again, a perimeter frame here. It was a 3-speed manual. You can see the clutch pedal. No 4-speeds until 1959 from Chevrolet from the factory, at least not in full-size. Corvettes, yeah, you could get a 4-speed in 57. But again, here's the brand new instrument panel, new for 55, and many people said it looked kind of like a jet fighter with the symmetrical openings on left and right. Of course, the glove compartment in the middle, not on the right-hand side. Easy access to right or left. This one is an overdrive equipped car, which is kind of a cool detail. So that 3-speed manual has an extra underdrive, if you will, overdrive, that helps it to cruise at lower RPMs on the open road. But getting back to this two-door body style, again, where the Nomad had a much different slanted B-pillar and much wraparound rear window. This is a pretty much upright, kind of a workman-like vehicle. And again, these were called the Handyman, available in the 150 and 210 lines, but never in Bel Air. But a very nice, accessible load spot right here. This one here is a little loose, but it doesn't burn any oil, and numbers match. Ready for the road. Just give it a tune-up, you'll be ready to go. But something cool here is the first year for an open drive shaft. 1954, Chevy had a torque tube. Well, here in 55 onward, they went to an open drive. We can see bits of the drive shaft through here. And the open drive shaft allowed for things like easier maintenance and service. And we look inside this side here, and we can see the body on frame construction, leaf springs in the back. Now this one here probably had an AM radio, not sure. But again, 1955, this is the year that Chevrolet really had a massive rebirth thanks to this Ferrari-inspired grille, the available V8, and these things really became American collector's items. And again, this one here is a two-door wagon, like 47,000 of these things built. Kind of sad to see it. Now, somebody's already harvested the rear quarter panel from this side, so I dare say there's no hope for this one. And again, it's a 6-cylinder car, not one of the nearly $750,000 of V8 cars. 6-bangers were still popular, especially in low-dollar handymans like this one here. So if you like this video, well, there's lots more to come. Be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel and give this a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and ring the bell so that you know when the next Junkyard Crawl video comes out, which is tomorrow morning.